and welcome to another amazing episode of We Only Look Thin. I am Katherine Weigel.
And I am Donald Weigel.
And today we are going to be talking about something that is near and dear to our hearts, taking old songs and movies and turning them into episodes. And today's episode is...
Pump up the volume! We should have rehearsed that a little better.
1, 2, 3.
Pump up the volume!
Pump it up. So we literally, there are times when we come up with titles for the podcast and then figure out how to fill it in. We're pumping up the volume, and now we got to figure out what's volume, Donald? Is it about your hair? Is it about mousse and gel?
It could be,
but it's not.
No,
it's not. We should here. Let's riff. What other name should we come up with for episodes? Full House. What's that about? Oh, we could actually about people coming to visit.
Coming to visit.
What can't the 80s do? What can't the 90s do?
Nothing. Can we Back to the Future? We could come up with one.
Back to the Future. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But today,
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
We're pumping up the volume.
Oh, pump up the volume.
Pump
yes.
up the volume.
Which was a song and an incredibly underrated movie starring Christian Slater.
And so we are going to pump up the volume. Why don't you turn the volume up to 11 and enjoy the volume of this episode, which is about food. Yay!
It's all about food. One of my favorite things to talk about. Pumping
it up. So if we go back to January of 2016, when I decided to start counting calories, I think all the same stuff was going on. It's like I imagine my hair cut different, but it's been the same for 20 years.
No, you were wearing bell bottoms and tie dye and
the war was going on. So when I started counting calories, I kept it very simple. I just ate at a deficit from what my Fitbit told me. I did not judge what I was eating very much. I just sort of tried to stick with things that I knew I liked, and that might mean pasta, but in a smaller amount. I would eat carbs kind of whenever, but I was just trying to stay at a deficit. There wasn't too much of a rhyme or reason for it, and it worked. It definitely, I lost probably 80 pounds or so that way. Of course, fine-tuning, figuring out what things filled me up and didn't fill me up. But I never really thought about the volume of food or foods that were more satisfying.
Yeah, and I basically did the same thing. I tried to eat mostly the same things I was eating before, but just less of them. And I was fairly successful, too, for a long time. But I don't think I was always satisfied. Or at least not satisfied to a satisfactory level.
Well, and you said you're always hungry.
Yes, I am always hungry.
So, I think there are people who go into the level of looking at macros for their weight loss. There are people who avoid carbs altogether. They do their ketos, their Cheetos, they're whatever they're called. And we're not suggesting that. But what we are going to talk about today is ways to pump up the volume.
Up the volume.
Said organically, not strangely at all. But, I think we need to be students of ourselves, students of our triggers, students of sauces and condiments, and really figure out what works for us and what doesn't. I know that I can have a donut for breakfast. I can fit it into my calories, but if it makes me want to gnaw my arm off 20 minutes later, which I think in February I might actually have almost gnawed my arm off, I know that I can't have a donut in the morning. I actually took pictures of my donut that I was going to have, and I was going to post them, and then I ended up having a terrible binge that day, and then decided that I had no business talking about my mindful donut day because it turned into a dumpster fire. So I know that donuts need to be eaten outside the house, in public, no secret eating. And not that I was eating it in secret, but I know that it doesn't work for me. So now we're going to talk about what actually does work for us. So get your pen and pencil out, get your tablet, get your papyrus.
You might need a slide rule of some kind.
Slide rule, because we're going to break down ways to add volume into your daily life.
Yeah, the idea is that trying to find foods or ways to make food last longer and fill you up more, and curb your hunger, even if it's just psychologically curb your hunger, and not actually more food, but ways to make it last longer.
Well, and Donald has talked before, and we've talked about, he knows that he is hungrier at night, so he saves most of his calories for the evening. And
yeah, in fact, I generally, and I know that, we've been told since we were kids not to do this, but it works for me. I generally skip breakfast, and I don't eat anything all day until about 1 o'clock. If I'm particularly hungry, I will have some V8 juice or tomato juice, which I know is not everybody's thing. But,
or nighttime pickles.
Nighttime pickles. These would be
in the daytime.
These would be morning time pickles. Nighttime pickles in the morning. Yeah. And I'm never going to live that one down. And or maybe some carrot sticks or something like that. But generally speaking, I don't start eating until about 1 o'clock. And then I pace it out so that I'm saving the bulk of my calories for later in the day.
And for me, I tried doing the waiting to eat thing, and I found that it triggered me too much. So, but I have taken up Donald's timed eating, which I'll have coffee first thing in the morning, then I'll have some tea like an hour later, and then I sort of pace out a couple of things and then eat a bigger breakfast later. And because I enjoy eating at night, not pickles, but delicious sweets. So, but it took me, I probably lost 90 pounds before I realized that I needed to sort of pay attention to when I was eating.
And you learned nothing from losing that 90 pounds.
I learned nothing.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm a clean slate. But I'm gonna drop tip 1 on you. So the way you eat something, I think, matters. And I know that's gonna sound really ridiculous. I'm not gonna tell you how to chew. But if you grab an apple and just eat it as you're going about your day doing apple-y things, I can eat it really quickly, an apple. But recently, I have started slicing my apples into fine, thin, sort of crisp little slices, and I put a little bit of cinnamon on them, and then just eat them like they're delicious cinnamon chip apple dealies.
Yeah.
And it actually takes a long time to eat it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but actually just slicing them and eating it more like a potato chip, sort of. I'm not saying that it tastes like a potato chip, but I find that I eat it slower. It takes me 10 or 15 minutes to eat the apple. I literally have timed myself, so this isn't hyperbole. But it takes longer to eat it. And the cinnamon is kind of like, sort of tricks you into thinking you're eating something delicious. So it also works with bananas, not pickles.
I had actually, because of my diabetes, had given up sugar for about 1.5 years, and so anything that's sweet still right now tastes amazing to me. And I saw her slicing apples, and I was like, wait a minute, adults can have apple slices? So I actually have been getting like actual apple slices like you would put in your kid's lunchbox and eating them, and I've been walking around like I've just discovered apple slices. Like
he wanted to go door to door asking people, telling people about the good word.
Hey everybody, why are apple slices so good? Like, how'd that get so good? But seriously, like 140 grams of apple slices is 80 calories, which is amazing.
Bargain.
In terms of, volume of food versus caloric intake.
Well, but this is something that maybe it's getting granular, and maybe because I've just recently reduced my calories, but the duration of eating matters. If you eat, an 80 calorie, I don't even know what delicious food is 80 calories. Can you think of anything that's 80 like a piece of chocolate?
One of my sugar-free peanut butter cups is 80 calories.
A sugar-free peanut butter cup, which sounds amazing, by the way, is 80 calories. And how quickly do you eat it, Donald?
Pretty quickly. No, I actually try and eat around the outside and make it last longer.
That's a freaky thing to do. So you can't eat it slowly. But for me, I would eat it, in 20 seconds it would be gone. But slicing the apple, dusting it with a delicious layer of cinnamon, plating it, And eating it takes 15 minutes. So I can have 80 calories over 15 minutes, or I can have 80 calories in 20 seconds. And I've realized recently that that actually matters to me, how long it takes to eat something. Because there are times when I'm eating, say potato chips or a small bag of potato chips. And by the time I'm eating the last one and I'm not paying attention, I'm like, oh, I just ate the last chip and I didn't even pay attention to it. So maybe I should eat a couple more, and then I promise I will savor them. And that is not very helpful.
Yeah, I do that all the time at work. Kate actually has been brought up the idea of trying to eat more mindfully, and I will find myself like eating at my desk while I'm trying to work, and before I know it, whatever I have is gone. I'm like, where did it go? Like, I don't even remember eating it.
Yeah.
And, just being mindful about it. You actually posted a great thing on our Instagram account recently, which was a picture of different size spoons. And the spoon trick. And it really is great. Like, if I'm eating a yogurt and I eat it with a big spoon, I eat it much, much quicker than with a little tiny spoon.
Yeah, so we have little Demitasse spoons. I can make a post about it.
I have no idea what Demitasse means. I just know it's cool.
French spoons.
It's super cool.
It's super
and
cool.
French.
But we have little tiny spoons. They're so cute. They're like American Girl sized spoons. But eating a pint of Halo Top with a tiny baby spoon, it lasts forever.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And it really does matter. Like if you're using a backhoe to shovel out the backyard to build a
Halo
swimming
Top
pool.
is low calorie ice cream.
We already talked about that.
We talked about that on a different episode.
And if you don't know, then you're listening to the wrong podcast.
It was a different episode.
But the size of spoons matter. The size of your fork matters. It all matters.
I think the size of the plate or the container you eat something in matters too. Putting the food in a smaller container to make it appear larger, I think, is also a trick that tricks your brain.
Yeah, I pretty much exclusively eat off of 9-inch salad plates. And I've done so for the last 2 years. And it makes it look more, and you really do, you eat with your eyeballs.
It's true. And even like eating a single serving bag of something, a small bag of chips that's 140 calories, like I still get that satisfaction from eating the entire bag as opposed to a much larger bag.
And I've actually started taking, if I get a single serving of something, I take it out of the bag generally and put it in a small bowl, because that's where the food forgetting comes in, where you realize you've already eaten the last chip or whatever, and then you're disappointed because you weren't paying attention to it. So I feel like if I take it out of the bowl or out of the bag and put it in a bowl, it actually helps me stay more mindful and present in the experience. But let's talk more about breakfasts and things to do with breakfast.
All right, let's do it.
We've talked about this before. Did you know, Donald? I hope you're sitting down. Are you sitting down?
I am sitting down, and you can see that I'm sitting down.
I can. I was trying to build tension. You can have vegetables for breakfast.
What?
That's right. I'm glad you're sitting down. The only vegetable I thought was appropriate for breakfast was home fries. Home fries is a vegetable. Maybe potatoes O'Brien with a couple of little onion bits in it. But it has only been recently that Heather from Half Size Me actually suggested at one point trying to have a vegetable at every meal.
Wow.
Not including Halo Top meal, because that's its own thing. But, I'm all about convenience. So we get bags of broccoli or cauliflower at Trader Joe's and microwave it up. And
the pre-cut, pre-washed, ready-to-eat bags of
it's so
produce.
Easy. Even I can do it.
Well, I mean, it seriously has changed my life. Like, I would oftentimes just let things go bad in the refrigerator because I couldn't bear to have to get it out and trim it. And I know that sounds lazy as heck, but after working a 15-hour day, it's not fun to try and clean and trim broccoli and cauliflower.
We don't have time for that. We got podcasts to run. So we have lives to change.
If you can just snip the end off of the bag and put it in the microwave for 2 minutes, and it's like ready and you can eat it, that's good times.
It is. So I usually have eggs for breakfast. You've got your hard-boiled eggs, you've got your fried eggs, you've got your scrambled eggs. I pair that with like a bowl of broccoli or steamed cauliflower, mushrooms, like that is volume. We're pumping up the volume.
Yeah,
like,
if you add onions and mushrooms to your eggs, like you're basically, those things are no calories. They're essentially 0 calories, and you're getting more food into you to fill you up. And eggs themselves aren't too bad either. A 50-gram egg is 70 calories.
Yeah.
And I knew that off the top of my head, which is a little scary.
No, but you can have, I see people who are on diets who have, a single egg and 3 almonds for breakfast or something like that. And I don't know if you know this about me. I like food. I like eating it. I like chewing it. I like swallowing it. And so adding that volume, I think they're called cruciferous vegetables.
Whoa, that I didn't know.
Primal Potential, she talks about, the podcast, she talks about adding things like Brussels sprouts or sautéed cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, asparagus. It adds a lot of volume for very few calories, and it's actually really satisfying. Like for me, if I have oatmeal in the morning, I just get really hungry like 10 minutes later. But if I have scrambled eggs with broccoli, put a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top, and that's like no calories too. Like, a big hunk of cheddar cheese, that's a lot of calories, but
yeah, as long as you don't sprinkle half the container
a
of
teaspoon
Parmesan
of Parmesan cheese is pungent. It's delicious. Put a little bit of chili flakes on that. You got yourself a meal.
Yeah, you definitely do.
And and then you can also do those same things for lunch. Have the steamed broccoli ready to go. Have your cauliflower ready to go, and it adds volume for very few calories.
Yeah, and I've started looking, well, this has been a while ago. I look for foods that are in the neighborhood of 1 gram per calorie.
Nerd!
Or better. Nerd is what I get for that?
No, it's very scientific.
It's very scientific. It's sort of a benchmark that I set, that when I see something is around 1 gram per calorie, I know that is going to fill me up and be worth the calories.
Budget friendly.
I recently found at Target these little Simple Balance instant oatmeals, which, may not be the healthiest thing in the world, but the apple cinnamon one is 130 calories, and it's great. Like, once you add the water, you're at about 130, 150 grams worth of food, and it's really filling.
Did you know water has no calories?
Water does have no calories.
You can fill up on that.
You can fill up on water. You can fill up on unsweetened tea, unsweetened coffee, that sort of thing. LaCroix, a sparkling water. I
don't care if my dentist tells me never to have it again because it's rotting my teeth. I've lost 155 pounds. You can take it out of my cold, dead, thin hand.
I'll eat my 1 calorie per gram food with my dentures. And getting back to that for a second, things like even, full-fat cottage cheese, Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is even less than that. Like, we get the kind with the fruit that you stir in, and a 150 gram Greek yogurt's about 120 calories. And that's super filling and satisfying to me. I make this dish with these vegetarian crumbles, which is basically like, vegetarian ground meat, and I throw in, it's about 70 calories for 70-ish grams, a little better than that actually, and I throw in, like diced tomatoes and onions and mushrooms and some chili flakes and some spices, and pump up the volume. And it is super filling and also low calorie.
And one thing that I, especially with lunches, I'm a big fan of the Lay's potato chip, but I have to eat them sparingly because they still kind of trigger me. But I buy 50 calorie and 70 calorie individual, like Pirate's Booty and low salt popcorn that's bagged. And for 50 calories, you get a pretty serious amount of popcorn, and you get the crunch factor, you get the salt factor, and it's a good substitute for the Lay's potato chips, which would be, 2 or 3 times more calories for the same volume.
Yeah, as long as it's air popped. I mean, popcorn is a great one. I mean, you can, it doesn't, not that it weighs a lot, but it feels like a lot of food. Seems like a lot of food when you're eating it.
And you get that crunch, because I think that I need those different textures. I need crunch, I need sweet, I need, smooth and savory. But like the other day, I know some people have a cheese cracker problem, like cheese chum squares. I don't want to name them by name, but the ones I'm talking about. I think it was 12 Cheez-Its. There, I said it.
Oh.
12 Cheez-Its was the same calories as a cup and a half of popcorn. And the Cheez-Its were tiny. Like, they would have been gone for me in, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I could eat 12 Cheez-Its in a bite, probably.
And really deciding, it's almost like budgeting, your money. You have ways to spend. What are you going to spend your money on? How are you going to spend your calories? Is it going to be on 12 Cheez-Its or a cup and a half of popcorn?
Yeah, I think that's a good mental trick, is thinking about it like money. And like, do I want to spend these calories? Do I want to spend this money on this? Like, is it worth it? Am I going to feel like I made a good purchase with my 100 calories?
Well, and it's not to say that you can't include Cheez-Its in your active lifestyle if that is important to you.
And they are delicious, make no mistake.
It's weird. I'm always excited when I find food that I'm not super into because it's very rare. But cheesy chews are not my bag. But finding those really satisfying, high volume, like I said, sprinkling Parmesan cheese, sprinkling feta cheese, it is higher flavor and fewer calories than an ounce of cheddar cheese might be. So it goes a long way. There are lots of really great low-fat salad dressings out there. Your Bolthouses, low-fat Newman's.
The Newman's own light Italian and light balsamic are pretty terrific. And, I mean, they taste to me like regular dressing, just about. And 2 tablespoons is like 40 calories or something like that.
Well, and it's funny. I found a video that I made last year about, I had planned to have something really sweet and like I wanted a piece of lemon cake or something, and I had budgeted for it, and I went to the grocery store to get it. And when I was staring it in its cold, dead eyes, waiting to eat it, it was...
The cake had eyes?
It was looking at me, I will tell you.
Wow.
But I looked at the cake and realized that I want to say it was like almost 500 calories for a small little triangle. And then I started that budgeting. I was like, what else could I spend my calories on? What else is 500 calories? And I sauntered over to the Ben & Jerry's and saw that a pint of Ben & Jerry's was like 1,200 calories. And I used to eat one of those almost every night. Like,
oh, yeah.
There was a point at which, it was...
Yeah, there was a time when we would each eat our own pizza and then have a pint of ice cream after.
Yeah, but we're different now.
Yeah.
But I decided that a pint of Halo Top was only 360 calories, and that it would last a lot longer because I would have wolfed down that cake. And to me, it just wasn't worth the calories, even though I really like it. Knowing myself, knowing what satisfies me, I actually found at the store these individual little angel food cake cakelet things. The angel food cake, I want to say, was 100 calories for the angel food cake. Chop up some strawberries on there, put a little bit of whipped cream on top. You got yourself a treat.
Yeah, that is
lasts
a treat.
A lot longer. Adding fruit to things: strawberries, blueberries, boysenberries, marionberries, huckleberries. Is huckleberry an actual thing, or is that just a character?
I think that's just what that Doc Holliday called everyone in that Tombstone movie.
Oh, okay. So maybe not a tombstone, but
and I'm a vegetarian. But what were you telling me about salmon versus grilled chicken?
Yeah, it was really annoying. I follow someone else on Instagram who does a lot of comparison photos of, you can eat a white bread sandwich with peanut butter and jelly, or you could have, a whole wheat sandwich with fresh strawberries and almond butter and like all this other stuff on it. And the volume was a lot bigger. And she had this one really annoying fact in my face that was salmon, which I eat quite a lot of. I don't remember the exact size, but it was, 3 or 4 ounces of the kind of salmon that I have ends up being about 350 calories. And a chicken breast of the same size that's skinless was about 110 calories.
Wow.
And then I thought to myself, pump up the volume.
Pump up the volume, everyone.
But it really, like, I was like, oh, that's a lot of calories. Okay. Like, and I always thought of chicken breasts as kind of being bland and boring, but that's a budget-friendly food that I can have. Shrimp is also 1 calorie per gram.
And it's also $5 each.
$5 each, so I can't afford to buy more. But, like, I can eat, a lot of shrimp for very few calories. And I still enjoy, steak and burgers and stuff like that. But on days when I'm saving up more calories for Halo Top, brought to you by Halo Top.
Man, we should be sponsored by Halo Top.
No, but I make, like, a huge tray of chicken once a week, put it in a bag, marinate it, and I've got low-calorie meals that I can or just go to. And it's so much less expensive. I was going to Trader Joe's and buying their packaged, pre-made stuff.
Yeah.
And it's much more expensive. I'm a 43-year-old woman who just learned how to make chicken in an oven because I'm a grown-up, I guess.
Well, I'm older than you, and I don't know how to do it.
But you don't eat it. So.
I'm a vegetarian. So.
But, like, just switching out low-calorie proteins for higher-calorie ones.
And, we've been mentioning Halo Top, and I know we mentioned it on another episode, but that is another, sort of pump up the volume. It's a low-calorie ice cream, which is magical. Tastes, to me, like regular ice cream. Like, I can't really tell the difference. And you can eat the entire pint and not feel terrible. Some of the flavors are 280 calories for an entire pint. Others are like 320, 360.
Yeah.
And I save up the calories, I sit down and I eat the entire pint and I feel fine about it.
Well, and there are times when I think, what is it, 2 or 3 Oreos are 140 calories. And when you compare that to, like, that versus a pint of Halo Top or half a pint of Halo Top that would take me 15 minutes to eat instead of Oreos, which are gone by the time I can say the word Oreo, duration matters. What did I come up with? Duration of mastication and satiation.
Yeah, it was really
fast.
good, and I wished we had the microphone on.
But that duration
of mastication leads to satiation.
Satiation. So, like, eating regular grapes, you eat a grape, it's gone. But eating frozen grapes takes much longer than eating just regular refrigerator grapes. Also, in terms of calories, like a C's candy, like a chocolate, again, about 80 calories. And I can eat one of those candies in 10 seconds. But the C's lollipops, which are the same number of calories, they have a cafe latte one, a vanilla one, a chocolate one. Those take me like 15 to 20 minutes to enjoy one. And that makes a difference because I like the food experience. Like, I eat really quickly generally, but if I can make the experience last longer, then it makes me more satisfied because my brain can catch up with my stomach in terms of fullness and in terms of satisfaction.
And it may seem obvious too, but while you're eating that single lollipop that takes you 15 minutes, you can't also be like stuffing, well, maybe I could, but you can't also be popping things in your mouth at the same time.
Cheese, tuna fish, night pickles. Sorry.
I was not talking about cheese, tuna fish, or night pickles.
No, but it occupies your...
Yeah, and seriously, like, there are certain things, like, if you can eat a lot of something in 2 minutes, then you might eat a lot of something in 2 minutes, whereas as you're, trying to slow things down, like your frozen grapes thing.
Well, and Trader Joe's sells a frozen French onion soup that... it's so frozen, it takes you 20 minutes to lick it, and then it's gone. No, they sell these prepackaged individual servings of French onion soup. I think it's 210 calories, and it's
really
delicious.
Good. It's a
got
fantastic
the cheese,
210 calories too.
But also soup, this is ridiculous. Like, this is the soup podcast, but eating soup takes a long time. Like, a really hot...
Yeah, you get it hot, and you have to wait for it to cool, and you have to sip it
literally,
for a little bit. And in this particular case, it takes like 40 minutes to cook it, too.
Yeah, so it's
so you can't, like,
You can't rush the experience
do
unless
it
you
too
want to
often.
eat it as a lollipop. But soup is really good. Salad is really good to add volume. I make steak a lot, and I will cut it up and put it on top of a salad with feta cheese and onion and make it really flavorful. Add, what are your tapatillas or your Frank's Red Hot. Things that are high
hot
flavor.
Sauce, spices.
I've also heard spicy food actually makes you more satisfied too. Because it definitely slows me down in terms of
I don't know if that's true, but we're going to assume it is.
What? Who's going to sue us? Who's going to not pay us for this? It's just us.
Brought to you by science.
Yeah. But also, like, with pastas, we all love pasta, don't we? But sometimes it's just calorically not practical, and I haven't made them in a while, but zoodles, the zucchini noodles, are actually really good.
Yeah.
The star of the show is the marinara and the meatballs and the Parmesan cheese, and look, it's not the same, but if you don't want to be 300 pounds anymore, sometimes zucchini's going to have to do the trick.
And I eat those packages of tofu pasta too, which I know if you haven't had it may not sound like something enjoyable, but it's pretty good. It's not the same as pasta, but it's pretty good, and it's seriously like 20 calories for a package of it. I mean, it's really filling, and you put some decent marinara sauce on that, and I usually put few veggie meatballs, and it's a heck of a meal.
And I think being creative in this process has really helped me. Being curious, being willing to try new things. And we've said this before, but if you tell yourself you don't have a choice, like, what am I going to do? That's what my family's eating. What am I going to do? Like, the more you tell yourself you don't have any choices, the fewer choices you will have. And for me, keeping on trying to reinvent myself, following people on Instagram who inspire me, listening to podcasts that give me ideas that, the little thing about like frozen grapes, I know grapes can be frozen. I know that. I'm an old 43-year-old woman. I know about frozen grapes, but I felt like it was this revelation, like Donald's sliced apple revelation that was like, damn, I can, like, for 20 calories, I can eat grapes for 10 minutes. And
why are sliced apples so good?
No one knows.
Yeah.
So being willing to test things out, knowing what your triggers are, knowing, trying out broccoli for breakfast. It's a thing, people. Get used to it.
Yeah, or even soup for breakfast.
Well, and adding cauliflower to other delicious foods, and darn Trader Joe's for not selling it anymore, but Trader Joe's had this, mac and cheese kind of cauliflower deal. And just adding for volume, if you have a macaroni and cheese, throwing in some steamed cauliflower into that, mixing it up, you don't know you're eating cauliflower?
Yeah.
You don't know it?
It's a really good way to trick yourself.
And pump up the volume.
And pump up the volume, exactly. So
we're gonna get sued.
We'd love to hear from you. What are your high volume, low calorie foods? I'd love to get some new ideas.
I know. Here we are saying our things, talking about cauliflower, but we would love more ideas.
So go to our Facebook page, leave us some ideas there. You can tweet at us at We Only Look Thin. We're also on Instagram.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram. The spoon trick is up there. And I'll put up some other food-related volume.
And you take beautiful photographs.
I do.
And just for the record, all the photographs are taken by my lovely wife. They're actually her photographs and are gorgeous.
Thank you.
And
that actually pumps up the volume too, because I plate my food better now. I curate it. I shoot it. I edit it, and then I eat the cold food after that.
Every meal she's ever had is cold, but she's photographed it beautifully.
But it makes it all last longer, counting my calories and everything. So thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you very much for listening. If you could do us a favor and go to iTunes and rate us, and you don't even have to review us, but if you'd like to review us, that would be helpful. And give us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if there are things that you want us to talk about.
Let us know if there are any 80s and 90s sitcoms or favorite songs that you would like us to turn into a podcast.
Yes, that would be good. I'm thinking of some now. I don't know.
Let's see, Knight Rider.
Knight Rider, like about nighttime binging?
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
See, they write themselves, people. We'll just go through the TV guide. Webster.
Yeah. The Bionic Man, $6 Million Man, the Bionic Woman.
We'll wordsmith it.
Yeah,
but,
we'll figure this out.
But wherever you are in your journey, however much you pump up volumes or do not pump up volumes, just remember that we are an inspiration.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.